Good afternoon, friends. One of the important judgment from Gauhati High Court. It is coming on Section 168 capital A, wherein the timeline got extended by different notification for passing the order under Section 73, subsection 10 of GST Act, non-fraud case. As a background, whenever order to be passed under Section 73, then time period specified is 3 years from the due date of furnishing annual return. And notice, so-called notice to be issued at least 3 months before from the due date specified for passing the order. Having said that, we all know that for 17-18 financial year, Department has passed the order in December 23. For 18-19 financial year, Department has passed the order in April 2024. And for 19-20, they have passed the order in the month August 2024. Now we have to understand in what context we are discussing this. If I look at the Section 73, then 73 says order to be passed within 3 years from the due date of furnishing annual return. So for 17-18, due date for furnishing annual return was either 5th of February or 7th of February 2020, depending on the different state. 3 years. So date would be 5th or 7th February 2023. And so-called notice, as I said, at least 3 months before from this particular date. For 18-19, the due date for furnishing annual return was 31st December 2020. So 3 years time limit for passing the order would be 31st December 2023. And for 18-19, the due date for furnishing annual return was 31st March 2021. Thereby, the due date for passing the order would be 31st March 2024. Now, in this given context, if we look at this date, then all these order which is being passed for 17-18, December 23, 18-19, April 24, 19-20, August 24, it's barred by limitation. But what government has done, and that is what we are discussing in this video. Section 168 capital A of GST Act. It is giving power, and when you look at this provision under Section 168 capital A, it is starting with a non-obstante clause and giving power to the government to issue a notification wherever they want to extend the timeline specified or notified or prescribed with respect to any action which they could not complete or complied with due to force majeure. So keeping in mind COVID-19, which came in March 2020, and because of this COVID-19, department could not undertake their assessment work, their audit work, and regular proceedings they could not complete within time. And you would be recalling the different notification. What are those notifications? Initial notification 13/2022 Central Tax, dated 5th of July 2022. Extending the timeline for passing the order under Section 73 for the financial year 17-18 was 30th September 2023, keeping this COVID-19. And thereafter, in 49th GST Council meeting, it is being accepted that because of COVID-19, department could not do their regular work like, scrutiny, assessment, audit, and other stuff. And that is the reason they could not pass the order and could not issue corresponding so-called notices within the time. So they allowed one time 3-month extension for 3 financial year. After that notification number 13/2022 central tax. So they issued another notification 9/2023 central tax 31st March 2023. So in the month of March 2023, because of COVID-19 in March 2020, they are extending the timeline for passing the order under section 73 subsection 10. And what this notification 9/2023 central tax has done for 17/18, they have prescribed the time 31st December 2023 for passing the order. For 18/19, they have said 31st March 2024. And for 19/20, they have said it would be 30th June 2024. So this was the notification number 9/2023 central tax. Thereafter, another notification number 56/2023 central tax dated 28th December 2023. And thereby with this notification, they extended timeline once again for financial year 18/19 from 31st March 24 to 30th April 24. And for 19/20 from 30th June to 31st August 2024. And this particular judgment which we are referring to is a very good judgment passed by single member bench. It's a speaking judgment and a lot of points are being considered. What was the dispute in this judgment? Dispute was the notification number 56/2023 central tax dated 28th December 23 was not having any backing by recommendation of GST Council. Of course, 9/2023 central tax was having legal backing by 49th GST Council meeting. But this particular notification 56/2023 central tax, there was no recommendation of GST Council. Thereby, it is being contended and pleaded. And a writ petition was filed under Article 226 to the Constitution of India before Honorable Gauhati High Court. And it is being pleaded when these notification 56/2023 extending the timeline for financial year 18/19 and 19/20 is not having legal backing of GST Council meeting any recommendation. How come these notification can be issued under section 168 capital A? Under that provision, it is specifically stated that on recommendation of GST Council, government can issue a notification to extend the timeline. Since there was no recommendation, and thereby it is being pleaded that these notifications are ultra vires. So given this context, we are discussing. जैसा मैंने आपको कहा कि हम सब 17/18, 18/19 और 19/20 के लिए ये अराइवेट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। सेक्शन 73 नॉन फ्रॉड केस में आपके अगेंस्ट में ऑर्डर पास हो गया है। और ऑर्डर कब पास हुआ? 17/18 का ऑर्डर आपका पास हुआ दिसंबर 23 में। 18/19 का ऑर्डर आपका पास हुआ अप्रैल 24 में। और 19/20 का आपका ऑर्डर पास हुआ अगस्त 2024 में। अगर हम बेसिक डेट देखें, जो ड्यू डेट एज पर सेक्शन 73 है, वो तो बहुत पहले निकल गई, जो मैंने अपने वीडियो में पहले ही डिस्कस किया। गवर्नमेंट ने इस टाइमलाइन को बढ़ाया बाय नोटिफिकेशन 13/2022 सेंट्रल टैक्स, फिर 9/2023 सेंट्रल टैक्स 31 मार्च 2023, और फिर बढ़ाया उन्हें 56/2023 सेंट्रल टैक्स 28 दिसंबर 2023। इस जजमेंट में यह डिस्प्यूट था कि ऑफ कोर्स 9/2023 सेंट्रल टैक्स जो नोटिफिकेशन इशू हुआ था उसमें रिकमेंडेशन था जीएसटी काउंसिल का, 49 जीएसटी काउंसिल मीटिंग। लेकिन उसमें यह भी आर्ग्यू किया गया कि मार्च 23 में फोर्स मेजोर कोविड-19 जिसको माना गया वो मार्च 23 में नहीं था। 56/2023 में भी यह कहा गया कि कोविड-19 नहीं था। फिर भी आपने 28 दिसंबर 2023 को जब आपने नोटिफिकेशन इशू किया, कोविड नहीं है, साथ में यह भी आर्ग्यू किया गया कि 56/2023 सेंट्रल टैक्स नोटिफिकेशन इज नॉट बैक्ड by any recommendation of GST Council. So this notification is ultra vires beyond the provision of Section 168 capital A. I'm just mixing up Hindi and English for the all the viewers watching throughout India. So let me now share that judgment. I'm not going to read all the paras, but important para, which is of course we must take into cognizance because these paras are equally important. See, what department has submitted the affidavit before Gauhati High Court, they have said the recommendation of GST Council is not binding. And they have taken this reference from the Honorable Supreme Court judgment in the case of Mohit Minerals. So a lot of things, sometimes government comes up and say recommendation of GST Council is binding. And sometimes they find some kind of exception. They always say recommendation is not binding. So a lot of things are being discussed in this judgment, which is worth reading. So I'm sharing this judgment and reading important paragraph only so that we can digest this judgment in a very quick manner. Let me share my screen first. So here is the judgment. Batch of writ petition is being decided by Honorable Gauhati High Court. And this table, which I'm showing it to you, it is talking about the original due date as per Section 73 were ordered to be passed. For 1718, the annual return date was 7th of February 2020 in the state of Assam. So last date of issuance of so-called notice 3 months before from the due date of passing the order under Section 73, subsection 9, which is 7th of February 2023. Similarly, for 1819, due date of furnishing annual return was 31st December 2020, order to be passed by 31st December 23. But we have seen all the orders are being passed in April 24. 1920, the due date for furnishing annual return was 31st March 2021. Order to be passed by 31st March 2024, but they have passed all the order in August 2024. They have taken the help of notification number 9/2023, backed by recommendation of GST Council, and they have taken the help of notification number 56/2023 Central Tax, which is not backed by recommendation of any GST Council meeting. So given this context, we have to read this judgment. So I'm going to read important paras so that we can get to know that what is being decided. So it is pertinent to note, and this green which I made for the easy digest of my viewers, and this judgment is being given in the description box, which you can download and read later. That impugned notifications are held to be ultra vires. Here impugned notification is 9/2023 Central Tax and 56/2023 Central Tax, provision of Central Tax and State Tax. So respective order would be without jurisdiction, being barred by limitation under Section 73, subsection 10 of CGST and SGST. In addition to the above, it is also apposite to mention that questions raised in the present proceedings are purely legal questions, and as such, this court finds it relevant to entertain the present batch of writ petition. Quite obvious, department always argue in the court that if order is being passed, adverse original adjudication order is being passed, the taxpayer may file an appeal under Section 107. To bypass that alternate remedy, they are coming before the High Court. That is what department argument throughout. But Honorable Court has said, since there's a legal issue, purely legal question is being raised, so it is opposite. They can consider and entertain this writ petition. So it's a point that number of writ petition are being filed in different High Court, wherein you might be disputing on merit and limitation, and sometimes we do not get the judgment as we are looking for, and even Honorable High Court is not accepting on limitation. But Gauhati High Court has considered this point, legal issue, and they have considered. Having said that, they are also discussing the relevance of Article 246A to the Constitution of India. Article 246A is nothing but giving power to both Parliament and state legislature to make law pertaining to GST, except interstate supply of goods or services, where central government, Parliament will make the law. This is what Article 246 capital A. So I'm not reading everything as I said, so that we can just jot down the important pointer. Article 279A. As per Article 279A, the GST Council is getting relevance. So Article 279A is being reproduced. For us, very important sub-article 4, where GST Council shall make the recommendation to union and state on different subject matter. And if you go back to sub-article 6, while discharging the functions conferred by this article, GST Council shall be guided by the need for a harmonized structure of GST and for the development of harmonized national market for goods and services. So these are the important relevant provision in the Constitution pertaining to GST Council. So this is what we need to consider. So I'm not reading, but the important aspect which we must consider, that court has taken cognizance, and they say that object and region of Constitution Amendment Bill 2014, the parliamentary reports and the speeches would indicate that Article 246A and Article 279A were introduced with the objective of enhancing cooperative federalism with harmony between state and center. This is what they are acknowledging the same. So having said that, they are again considering that where from Section 168 capital A got originated. It originated on account of outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020, and government has introduced a specific provision, taxation and other laws, relaxation and amendment of certain provision Act 2020, which is in short called as a TOLA, was enacted on 29 September 2020, and thereby the origination of Section 168 capital A. So what is this Section 168 capital A? We must read this provision. Power of the government to extend the time limit in special circumstances. So this power is being given only when there is special circumstances. And why we are reading this provision? As we all know that COVID-19, which came in March 2020, but as per the suo motu cognizance Supreme Court order, COVID-19 is gone from the country, and they have said last date was 28th February 2022. So we have to read this context, that the special circumstances. Can we say COVID-19 is the special circumstances, the force majeure circumstances for issuing any notification in March 2023, in December 2023? This is what the context we need to understand. So read subsection 1. It's starting with a non-obstante clause. notwithstanding anything contained in this act. Government may, so it is not giving authoritative power, it is saying may, on recommendation of the council. So there the condition attached, there should be recommendation of the council, by notification, extend the time limit specified in or prescribed or notified under this Act, CGST Act, because this is a provision coming from CGST Act, but perimeterial provision under respective state GST Act. In respect of action which cannot be completed or complied with due to force majeure. So if you look at section 73, subsection 10 for passing the order, for 1718, it was 7th February 2023. For 1819, it was 31st December 2023. For 1920, it was 31st March 2024. But because of COVID-19, notification 13/2022 followed by 9/2023 and then followed by 56/2023. Of course, 13/2022 and 9/2023 was having a legal backing recommendation of GST Council. Though the question and dispute whether COVID-19 is still continuing in March 23 for issuance of notification 9/2023 central tax, and for 56/2023 central tax dated 28 December 23. Apart from COVID-19 issue, the issue was there was no backing recommendation of GST Council. How come these notifications are justified when we look at section 168 capital A? This is what this judgment all about. Subsection 2, I will read little later, but I will read the explanation first. What is the meaning of force majeure? For the purposes of this section, force majeure means a case of war, epidemic, flood, drought, fire, cyclone, earthquake, or any other calamity caused by nature or otherwise affecting the implementation of any of the provision of this act. So if you keep this provision in your mind, then you would be having a lot of perspective from taxpayer. For department, GST department, since they could not undertake scrutiny, audit, assessment, they were given special privilege because of COVID-19, which came in March 2020, right? In March 23 and then December 23, that's what they are contemplating. But when we look at from taxpayer perspective, we all know, of course, now we got the relief by way of amnesty announced in Finance Act 2024, Section 16, subsection 4, time limit to avail credit. So which I have discussed in different video, which you can download and see later. For taxpayer, even COVID-19 was the same issue. If you picked up AP High Court judgment, Thirumalakonda Plywood, the relevant period for 3B was March 2020 only. He filed on 27th of November 2020, whereas he was supposed to file on 20th October 2020. His credit was denied, barred by time limit under section 16, subsection 4. Watch this, COVID-19 not prevalent for him. So we are contending, but now amnesty, section 16, subsection 5 introduced in the CGST Act with retrospective date July 1, 2017. But I'm only saying this is now done in 2024, but why it was not there before. But that is what the explanation, that COVID-19 can be considered as a force majeure. But only point is, when suo motu cognizance order of Supreme Court has saying that no more COVID after 20th February 2022, how come this is taken as a basis for issuance of notification in March 23 and December 23? This is still a matter of sub judice and need to be tested. But having said that, there's another rider which is eye-opener. Now, which is also being considered in this judgment, that notification number 56/2023 central tax is not backed by any recommendation of GST Council. Can it be ratified with retrospective date? And that's what subsection 2 talks about. And this is giving some kind of, question mark. And this is what being considered by department in their affidavit also. So what is this subsection 2? Please read so that we can get a clarity. The power to issue notification under subsection 1 shall include power to give retrospective effect to such notification from a date not earlier than the date of commencement of this act, meaning thereby even this notification 56/2023 central tax dated 28 December 2023 can be ratified by GST Council. But till the date this order was passed, this notification was not ratified neither in 50th GST Council meeting nor in 51st, 52nd, 53rd and 54th, which held on 9th of September 2024. It is not ratified. And I'm just giving food for thought. When the extended timeline by 3 months by notification number 9/2023 central tax, specific minutes is talking about one time 3 months extension. And thereby for 17-18, they increased from 30th September to 31st December. And for 18-19, they have increased the time period from 31st December to 31st March. And for 19-20, 31st March to 30th June, 3 months time limit was extended one time. Now, my question, and which is coming to my mind, even though subsection 2 exists, but 49 GST Council meeting is very specific and saying that one time only for 3 months, then how come they will take up and go contrary to their own recommendation in case they want to rectify notification number 56/2023 central tax? This is food for thought, and this is being considered by Honorable Gauhati High Court. So this is what the provision. So I'm not reading further, but they have taken a cognizance of that the government can extend the timeline only when there is recommendation by notification in respect of action and due to force majeure. So they're accepting force majeure. COVID-19 is a force majeure. And for 9/2023 central tax, they are accepting it was recommended by GST Council and there was notification. So for 9/2023, they have said we are not considering that one. So for 17-18, the order passed in December 23, since it is not being considered that notification 9/2023 central tax is not being considered because they are saying that notification on recommendation of GST Council having force majeure, we are not considering 9/2023 for dispute. We are only picking up notification number 56/2023 central tax dated 28th of December 2023. Hence, now as a taxpayer, what we are looking into? We can dispute only 2 financial year, 18-19, for which order passed in April, whereas last time extended by 9/2023 was 31st March 24. For 19-20, it was 30th June, further got extended by 31st August 2024. So only these 2 financial year is under dispute. because of this notification, which is not having any legal backing, recommendation of GST Council, which is being required. So this is what being considered in this Gauhati High Court judgment. Having said that, this ratification clause also being considered, but since it is not being ratified as on date, neither in 58th, nor in 51st, nor in 52, nor in 53rd, nor in 54 GST Council meeting. So they have said this notification is not having legal backing, recommendation of GST Council. So I'm not reading whole of the judgment. I have just highlighted the important provision and which I'm reading it out before you. So for 9/2023, notification was having legal backing of 49 GST Council meeting, and they have reproduced the agenda item and they are discussing that one time. Look at this, Law Committee recommended that such time limit may be extended for another 3 months each for financial year 17-18, 18-19 and 19-20. And thereby they issued the notification number 9/2023 central tax. So this is how. Here one more point which I would like to draw your attention, which you may be having some dispute. Sometime we have seen department issue one so-called notice clubbing different financial year, whether that is permissible. If you read this agenda item, as per them, every year has got different limitation. So as per law, they must issue so-called notice per financial year basis, not cumulative basis. This is what it is being discussed in this particular agenda item as well. So having said that, I'm just going further. So this notification number 9/2023 is impugned in some of the writ petition. They consider impugned, but later on they have said that 9/2023 having legal backing, force majeure, notification, recommendation. So they have said we are not going to discuss on 9/2023, but of course 56/2023 is need to be discussed. So now this is the important one. Notification number 56 had used the phrase. If you look at the notification 56/2023 central tax, it start on recommendation of GST Council, but there is no recommendation as on date. No recommendation. And that is what it is being acknowledged by Honorable Gauhati High Court. So department has filed a writ petition and they have said that they have power. They can get it ratified. They have also said that GST Council recommendation is not binding, relying on Supreme Court Mohit Mineral case. So this is what all being argued. So I'm not discussing in brief. I've summarized everything. I'm just going further. So this 9/2023 I've explained. So going further. Okay. So I will read the relevant paras now, analysis and the determination by Honorable Gauhati High Court. They are saying under such circumstances, challenge so made to notification number 9/2023 central tax, as well as pari materia notification issued by the state government dated 6/9/2024. What is the meaning of this? 9/2023 central tax was issued on 31st March 23. Pari materia notification issued by the state government on 6th of September 2024. So pari materia, but why did the timing difference? We are all talking about GST law is a one nation, one tax, one market. Why it will not be on same date? 9/2023 got issued on 31st March 23. State is issuing on 6th of September 2024. And sometime being taxpayer, we struggle to find out notification of respective state. Why there will be time gap? But this is what court considered, that notification issued by both the government and having no relevance, for which this court is not considering the challenge to the notification 9/23, as well as notification issued by the state government on 6th of September 24 for simple region, backed by recommendation of GST Council in 49 GST Council meeting. So question they have framed for themselves, whether notification number 5623 central tax dated 28 December 23 is ultra vires the provision of section 168 capital A of central tax. This is what it is being framed. So this court is now need to deal with section 168A under both the provision. And it is apparent that government to exercise the power, they are saying it is apparent that government to exercise the power under section 168A to extend the timeline, it can be made on recommendation of GST Council by way of notification in respect of act which could not be completed or complied with due to force majeure. The challenge to the notification number 56/2023 central tax is on account of absence of recommendation by GST Council and existence of force majeure as defined in explanation to section 168A of the central tax. Because 56/2023 central tax got issued on 28th of December 23. Was there force majeure COVID-19 for extending the timeline? Apart from recommendation, this was also being considered by Honorable Gauhati High Court. Having said that, what is the meaning of recommendation? They have said recommendation is not defined in GST law. So what is the meaning of recommendation? They have relied upon Honorable Supreme Court judgment in the case of V.M. Kurian versus State of Kerala. And this is what they have said. It was observed that meaning of the word recommendation has to be understood in the context of the provision of the Kerala building rules and the object behind the rules. So they're saying recommendation, the term recommendation need to be understood from the context. So similar context, section 168 capital A giving power in special circumstances to extend the timeline only when there is the recommendation of GST Council. Since there is no recommendation of GST Council for 56/2023 central tax, and that is what the basis they have considered that is ultra vires. But that is how it is being dwelt with and going further. So not reading whole paragraph, I have made it, green, which is for you to digest little later. After watching my video, you can download this judgment and read it for your easy digest. Having said that, now, from the above analysis, it is apparent that object behind insertion of Article 246A, where Parliament and state legislature can make law pertaining to GST except interstate supply of goods or services, and Article 279A, which is overriding Article 254, is to promote fiscal federalism and cooperative federalism. Under such circumstances, you must read this paragraph. And that is what determination, the position held by Honorable Gauhati High Court. The recommendation to be made by GST Council, if required as per the provision of Central Tax or State Act, has to be constituted to be a sine qua non for exercise of power by the union and state government. In other words, wherever provision of Central Act or State Act stipulates that an act is required to be done on recommendation of the GST Council, act can be done only when there is recommendation, as observed by Supreme Court in the case of V.M. Kurian. Meaning of the word recommendate would also, in the opinion of this court, be applicable to the interpretation of section 168 capital A to mean giving of a favorable report opposed to an unfavorable one by the GST Council for exercise of power under article, they're saying under article, but that should be section 168 capital A. Now, at this stage, the court take into account the submission of learned counsel that all the recommendations of GST Council are not binding, and as such, even without recommendation, government could exercise the power under section 168A of Central Act. This was by affidavit presented by revenue. Government saying that no, recommendation of GST Council is not binding, and they are relying on a Mohit Mineral case by Honorable Supreme Court. And this is also being discussed by this Gauhati High Court, that in what context binding part need to be read. See, if you go to Mohit Mineral case, what you need to understand, the dispute was the parent legislation, GST Act or SGST Act, which is parent legislation. So which is primary one. And then delegated legislation, which is being done by way of rule or by way of notification at a subsequent date. But that delegated legislation cannot go beyond the parent legislation. Even though there is a recommendation of GST Council, in that context, you need to read Mohit Mineral case, Supreme Court judgment. If delegated legislation, even though notification got issued on recommendation of GST Council going contrary to the parent legislation, then that binding is not, that recommendation is not binding. That is what Honorable Supreme Court has said. And this is what it is being dealt with in this particular judgment. They are referring that these two notifications, number 8/2017 and 10/2017. So I'm not reading, but I've given you what they have considered the context. So, okay, so going down further, this is what the constituent power of the legislature is of higher constitutional order as compared to its legislative power. Even if it is a parliament that has enacted law making the recommendation of GST Council binding on central government for the purpose of notifying secondary legislation. So even though power given on recommendation does not takes away, does not be saying it can't be said binding if it is going contrary to the parent legislation. That is what the crux it is being discussed. It would not mean that all recommendation of the council made by virtue of its power under Article 279 capital A have a binding force on the legislature. And this is what it is being considered. Above analysis by the Supreme Court would show when a recommendation would be binding and when not. The ratio which emerges from above paragraph only shows that merely because few recommendations of GST Council are binding on the government, it cannot be argued that all recommendations are binding. They are discussing like that. If it is contrary to the parent legislation, the ratio is based on principle as stated that constitutional provision cannot be interpreted on the basis of primary legislation, rather than primary legislation is to be interpreted on the basis of constitution. However, so there are three chronology created: constitutional power versus primary legislation versus delegated legislation. This is what the context is being drawn. Even primary legislation cannot go beyond the constitutional power. That is what it is being discussed here. So the ratio is based on principle which I have done. However, the said judgment does not lay down the proposition that as some of the recommendations are not binding, there is no requirement of recommendation by the GST Council to exercise the power. The power to be exercised under Section 168 capital A by government is a delegated power to issue a notification, which can be termed as a delegated legislation or secondary legislation. The primary legislation in the Central Act or State Act, as per Section 168 capital A, putting a condition, recommendation of GST Council. So that is what they are discussing. So that is what going down further. So let me summarize. Now we are in concluding part of it. So one or two para, and then we will conclude this particular video. The central government knew that there was no recommendation from GST Council. This aspect is clearly admitted. So of course it is known, it is on public domain. There is no recommendation for 56/2023. Now, when there is no recommendation, the question comes that 56/2023 central tax is concerned is a colorable exercise of power, artificial. Colorable means artificial exercise of power for which said notification is colorable. Another ground of challenge to the notification 56/2023 is that there was no element of force majeure. Please, apart from recommendation, which is not there, they are saying there was no element of force majeure. Question of exercising power under Section 168 capital A did not arise. So COVID-19 cannot be taken as a pretext for issuing a notification in December 23. That is also being considered. In the previous segment of this judgment, this court had dealt with the explanation to Section 168A. The explanation to Section 168 capital A deals with the various types of natural calamities. It is pertinent to mention that recommendation of counsel have also to be based upon the existence of force majeure condition. They're taking, this court is acknowledging that 9/2023 was issued on recommendation of GST Council on the pretext of COVID-19. But in December 23, apart from no recommendation, there is no force majeure. The notification number 56/2023 was issued without recommendation, and the natural corollary thereof is that GST Council had no occasion to consider existence of force majeure in as much as the same was never placed before the GST Council before issuance of same. Therefore, 56/2023, if construed from that angle also, would be a notification issued without a force majeure condition being not considered in accordance with the law. Under such circumstances, this court is of the opinion that notification 56/2023 central tax ultra vires the central act and state, same is not legally sustainable in law. Accordingly, same is set aside and quest. So this is what they are talking about. It is also very pertinent that Assam have not issued any pari materia notification for the period 1819 and 1920. So if state is not having any notification for extending timeline from 31st March to 30th April 24 for 1819, from 30th June to 31st August for financial year 1920, there is no state notification. How come they can pass the order in April 24 and August 24 respectively for financial year 1819 and 1920? Under such circumstances, order passed are without jurisdiction being barred by limitation. So all the writ petitions stands allowed, however, no cost. But again, para 54, they are giving this, power to the government before parting with the records. Learned Standing Counsel appearing on behalf of both central government, CGST and SGST, submitted that both union and state has power in terms of Section 168, subsection 2, under both Central Act and State Act to issue retrospective notification, and the judgment so passed herein should not prejudice to their right. So they are keeping this option open, meaning thereby they are saying that we can still go back to GST Council and get this notification ratified. But my submission, when 49 GST Council meeting on the basis of law committee report in special circumstances allowed at once 3 months time limit getting extended for all 3 financial year, can GST Council again ratify this notification going back to their own words and saying that further we are extending 1 month for 1819 and for 1920 from 30th June to 31st August 24? This is a big question mark. Big question mark. So having said that, even though this ratification power exists, but to my mind, GST Council, can they go back to their own words and can justify by way of retrospective ratification of this notification? To my mind, this matter going to be, in case it is being done, then this is going to be the subject matter before Honorable Supreme Court. But in my considered view, that once it is being acknowledged, that law committee has done and submitted the report once. At one time, they are giving spatial extension for 3 months for 3 respective financial year. To my mind, they need proper justification. And even COVID-19 in December 23, how come it is justification for extending timeline for 1 month for 18-19? And for 19-20 from 30th June to 31st August 24, to me looks like it will not be. It is my personal considered view, but still from government side, they can always say we can go back to GST Council. My submission to GST Council would be we should be neutral and we should look at both the side, taxpayer and tax department both together. Even taxpayer need your support. Taxpayer also needs certainty. Taxpayer also need clarity in the law. It cannot be, I'm saying it cannot be as per the sweet whims and fancies, even though this power exists in your hand. Had it been done initially for 9/2023, Honorable Gauhati High Court has considered this point, that 9/2023 having recommendation, notification issued, 49 GST Council meeting, agenda item, everything they have considered. And to draw your attention, for 17-18, we all know order passed in December 23. And this 17-18, the dispute pertaining to notification number 9/2023, we got 2 judgment, Kerala High Court, Faisal Traders, single member bench versus division bench judgment of Graziano from Allahabad High Court, division bench judgment. Both have held that the government is having power. But if you look at both the judgment, one line which I'm drawing here, Kerala High Court is saying it is executive power to extend the timeline, whereas Allahabad High Court is saying it is legislative power. To that extent, it is contrary. And this Gauhati High Court is not considering because of the reason recommended by GST Council by way of notification, acknowledgement of COVID-19, but 56/2023 central tax dated 28 December 2023, it's ultra vires, the provision, as per the provision of Section 168 capital A. And to me, even rectification with retrospective date, to me looks like not possible. And GST Council cannot go back, cannot chew their own terms and your recommendation. That is what it comes to my mind, which I'm sharing with my all the viewers. This is what the judgment all about. So crux for my Hindi viewers, I'm just stopping this screen so that I can share my concluding part. Crux is for 18-19 and 19-20. If order is passed in April 24 or August 24, respectively for 18-19 and 19-20, you can always challenge because those orders are being passed in extended timeline as per this notification 56/2023. So of course, even though you have gone to appeal, you must make a point that this is what you're disputing, which may or may not be accepted by the appellate authority. But you must consider this point while filing your appeal. And whenever you have gone for the writ petition, of course, it is on question of law. And I'm damn sure this will be dealt by other Honorable High Court as well. For 17-18, still matter is sub judice. I've said Kerala High Court is saying executive function. Allahabad High Court is saying legislative function. But to my mind, this is again need to be considered. Was there COVID-19 in March 23 when suo motu cognizance order of Honorable Supreme Court is saying COVID is no more after 28th of February 2022? Need to be tested. If COVID-19 exists for the department, why there were discrimination? When we are talking about Section 16, subsection 4, of course, relief is being granted, but why it was not there before? So to me, these are the matter need to be tested in the court of law. And just because COVID-19 came in March 2020, when department is being given relief that they could not do, they could not undertake scrutiny, assessment, audit, But as a taxpayer, of course, certain timeline got extended, but we were filing the return. Even we were stopped 6 months initially, March 2020, COVID-19. We were not working. Physical setup were closed, but still we were doing the compliances. When we were doing the compliances, and GST is on portal, GST and portal, why they will complain and talk about they could not do that? Department could not do that. That is what being acknowledged by GST Council. Can it be considered as a ground to give an extension of that time limit and special circumstances? And that too in March 23. And then we are discussing December 23. Need to be tested. तो मेरी सबमिशन आप सभी से यही है कि 1819 और 1920 के लिए अगर आपका ऑर्डर अप्रैल 24 और अगस्त 24 में पास हुआ है तो आप जरूर लिटिगेट कीजिए. Of course, 56/2023 Central Tax Notification is not backed by recommendation of GST Council. It's a very good point. And there was no force majeure circumstances acknowledged. Otherwise, recommendation होती ना. और फिर मैंने कहा भी कि जीएसटी काउंसिल ने 49 जीएसटी काउंसिल मीटिंग में कह दिया था वन टाइम स्पेशल जेस्चर दे आर इंक्रीजिंग द टाइम बिकॉज ऑफ कोविड-19. तभी 9/2023 सेंट्रल टैक्स नोटिफिकेशन इशू हुआ था. उसके बाद भी आप इशू करेंगे जबकि कोई रिकमेंडेशन नहीं है. और दिसंबर 23 में आप कोविड-19 का पी टेक्स्ट लेंगे. To my mind, I'm only making a point कि 1819 और 1920 के लिए चाहे आप अपीलेट अथॉरिटी के पास है, चाहे आपने रिट डाली हुई है, continue. And we are having our own argument and we are having a valid point. Without recommendation, these notifications are ultra biased when we look at section 168 capital A. For 1718, of course, I've said that their point still need to be tested. Matter is sub judice. Will definitely go to Honorable Supreme Court, but let's see how it moves around. I have done this part, this High Court judgment, Gauhati High Court judgment analysis. Hope it would be useful. Of course, it's a lengthy one. Today's word is want to watch in 2 to 3, 4 minutes video, but unless you read the judgment, you will not be able to draw the real theme of that judgment. That is the reason I made it differently. Take out your time, sit down, either on Saturday, Sunday, and listen carefully. Download the judgment, read those paras, important for our GST education. Stay tuned. Lot many. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.